I believe we're all assembled back. I'd like a motion, please, that we return to open session.
I make a motion, we return to open session.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
I vote yes. And next, we need to certify that what we discussed in closed session only included the items that we mentioned going into closed session, that is sections A1, A7, A8, A5, and A29. And if you agree with that, would you please say I so certify? And I'll start with Mr. Moore,
I so certify.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
I so certify.
Mr. Hill,
I so certify.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
I say certify.
Mr. Webb,
I so certify.
and I so certify. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to see everybody in attendance tonight, and we have a lot on our agenda. And we'll start off with our invocation and pledge, and I've asked Robbie to please do that.
It's all rise. Oh, gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day and give you all the praise and all the glory for what you've provided for us. Lord, we ask that you watch over us as we go through this meeting. Ask that you keep us safe on our travels home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We'll get into our agenda now, and the first is a public hearing on a road abandonment. This has been advertised, and it is a section of the road, State Road 683, also known as Stonewall Road, and I'm going to let Mr. Newman to come up and talk about that. And I'll open the public hearing at 6:06.
Good evening. As Dr. Luttrell just stated, this is pertaining to a petition and a request to have a portion of discontinued 683 Stonewall Road, Fancy Gap, abandoned. The specific address is 347 Stonewall Road. And the roadway was a 30-foot right-of-way. The section being asked to be abandoned is right at 366 feet. It was discontinued March 4th, 1971. It's not been used by VDOT or any of the adjoining landowners, since that time. VDOT did retain a right to store gravel on this particular section. To anyone's remembrance, that has never happened. Our current VDOT personnel were not even aware that the right existed. So the landowner is working with VDOT to obtain an agreement to terminate that right. The petitioner says, I seek the abandonment of this roadway as it pertains to this parcel because it adversely affects the title and the property's saleability. The abandonment of the requested portion of this roadway does not adversely affect the public in any way since it has not been used by anyone other than the property owner of 347 Stonewall Road, Fancy Gap, Virginia. And the petitioner is William McMillan. His son is here if to answer any questions if you have any. I have visited the property. It's a driveway for this property, and it's about all I can describe it as. I don't see that it would benefit anyone other than this property. So I don't think that we're adversely affecting the county if we make the choice to abandon it. You all have any questions of me? If you do, I'm here.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ronald. Did anyone sign up to speak? Crystal? Is anyone in the audience here to speak about this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:09. And does the board desire to take any action on this request tonight?
In light of the Ronald's statement there and the research I've done on it, I make a motion that we abandon the road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to have the county retain easement, just in case future growth or whatever, we use water or sewer. Not likely, but I think we should retain an easement, like we have on the last one that we abandoned.
How does that, do we have to amend the motion to do that, or how are we going to do that?
Yes, I'd take that, that sounds like a motion to amend.
Yes.
Okay, that would require a second and then debate.
I'll second that.
Okay, the original motion's been amended to include,
I'm sorry, Dr. Latour, what's before you now is just a vote on the motion to amend. And then you
Right.
would vote on the substantive motion.
Right.
I'm sorry.
but the amendment has been made to add that it'll be considered an easement for the county, continue to be an easement for the county. So now we're voting on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment?
For utility purposes only, correct? Okay.
So we'll add that to utility only, okay. Seeing none, I'll start the voting on the amendment with Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw, Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, well, now we're going to vote on the amended motion. Any discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting on the amended motion. Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
I vote yes. Thank you. The motion passes 6-0. Our next item on the agenda is the public hearing for the utility easement from the town, it's been requested by the town of Hillsville, and I'll open that public hearing at 6:11. Is there someone from the town to speak to that? As I understand this, the town of Hillsville is upgrading their utilities for water and sewer, and part of that construction goes through some of the county property in the neighborhood of the county complex. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Essentially, this is a very routine matter, but in accordance with 15.2-1800 of the Code of Virginia, you can't convey any interest in real property, except with very, very limited circumstances, without a public hearing. So we're checking those boxes today.
And this does cross the property that's identified on tax map 311-A-171.
Yes.
Did anyone sign up for that? Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:12. Does the board appear to want to take any action on this request?
I'll make a motion, we approve the utility easement for Hillsville.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That passes 6-0. Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is citizens' time, and I have several people that have signed up to speak, and I'll remind you that you have 3 minutes, and you will be timed, and the lights on the podium will start off green and end up red and a buzzer when your 3 minutes are up. And the first on the list is Gerald Goad. Welcome.
Good evening, Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. I didn't know how else to do this, but I feel like this was the best way to do it. But I feel like that to do my due diligence as a county leader, I just wanted to come to you and first of all, I'm sure that each and every one of you was aware that I lost one of my deputy clerks, Carroll Anderson, due to COVID. She died on October the 28th. She was a bookkeeper, accounting technician for our office, and so with that, I've done the best I could to try to keep up with my duties as well as her duties and everything. So obviously we were dramatically behind with our county revenues, and so I just want to come up and do my due diligence and to lead her and wholeheartedly apologize to the county for the delay. I am here to tell you that all of the revenues have been successfully been delivered to the county treasurer as of today. We are all caught up. We have hired a new bookkeeper, accounting technician. Today was her first day, so I just wanted to let everybody know that this delay should never happen again. But I hope that everybody does understand that we were, we were in desperate short staff for the last few months. When I ran for this seat, I never would imagine having someone pass away, and then not only that, have to take part in her own funeral. So it has been very stressful, very challenging time. But I just wanted to apologize to the Board of Supervisors for the delay in your revenues. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, Gerald. Now condolences to your office for your loss. The next speaker on the list is Tim Blair.
I'm here about noise on, remember me?
Yes, sir.
Well, since then, I have replaced screws in my house on the roof. The vibrating screws out of my house. So what are we gonna do about it? Who's liable for it? Me?
I can't answer that because I don't know the exact circumstances, so you can continue to speak, but I can't give you any answers right now.
What about noise ordinance? Y'all was gonna find something out about that? You don't forgot it.
As I understand it, your solution would be to go through the sheriff's office as a nuisance. We have no noise ordinance in the county at this point.
Well, he was gonna check on her or something, this guy over here. You remember me, Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I done talked to the sheriff's department. But if y'all can't help me now, I'm gonna leave. What do you say about that? You were gonna check on the noise on something for me.
If the board would like to schedule a public hearing on a proposed noise ordinance, we can certainly
Do I need
do
to
that,
get a
submit
petition
one.
up?
What's that?
Do I need to get a petition up?
No, you're before the board right now.
The truck pulls, the tractor pulls, that don't bother me none. But when we got speakers 10 foot tall, 300 foot from my house, you can see where I'm coming from. I went there nice and asked them to cut it down. They did for about 2 hours. And right back at it again.
Is this a site located in Carroll County, sir?
The stage is in Wick County, but the property belongs to Carroll County. It goes right through my land diagonally. I went to Wick County and they said they picked it up that. So it's in Carroll County, but that's why I'm doing it here. I'm in Carroll County.
If the stage is in Wythe County, it looks like they would have to maintain what's going on the stage. I mean, I don't know enough about the property, hadn't looked at it close enough to tell you.
It runs diagonal. The stage is in Wick County.
It may become a court case. If the scenario I could see proceeding is if the county can adopt a noise ordinance if it uses objective criteria for that. Decibels at a certain feet from a property line is probably the approach you would want to use. And if you've got someone creating a nuisance in Carroll County, violating the noise ordinance, you could bring enforcement action, and it would be up to a judge to decide whether it can be enforced against a noise emanating from Wythe County.
That's the story right there. Wick County don't want to hear it. They say it's in Carroll County. And if y'all weren't recording it, there's a lot I got to say, and I ain't gonna say it, because y'all recording it. I don't want to know that I said it. But anyway, if y'all done me, I'm leaving. But there's something gonna be done about it. If I had to go to my congressman, if I had to go to the Jeff Campbell, David, Sutherland, something gonna be done about it. If y'all can help me, help me. If you can't, I won't be back.
I think we've given you some suggestions, that's the best we can do.
Sir?
We've given you some suggestions, and that's the best we can do. We'll continue to look into it, but your time is up, so thanks for coming.
All right, I'm good.
Thank you.
Francis Boatman is next.
Gentlemen, tomorrow is our one-year anniversary. December the 14th of 2020 is the first time I spoke regarding the sale of the training center property paid for by the citizens of Carroll County for the purpose of a training center. The traditional one-year anniversary gift is paper. In keeping with tradition, I ask that you give us the paper gift, a paper the county attorney files, an injunction stopping the sale of the training center property while the county fights to have land returned to Carroll County citizens who paid for it. In 1971, the citizens of Carroll County paid $180,000 for the purchase of 98 acres to be used for a training center. 2 smaller parcels were also donated. And since 2 of the 3 original parcels have been conveyed back to the donors by the state because, quote, the need no longer exists, the 98 acres should also be returned to the citizens of Carroll County. Instead, this $9 million property is being sold for less than $4 million to a company that committed Medicare fraud in West Virginia and paid a $17 million settlement. It currently has a facility in Galax, which creates major problems, including 400 police calls or EMS calls per year. Per a Virginia Department of General Services report to Senator Stanley, August 18th, the training center closed and the property was declared surplus to the Commonwealth's needs. October 12th, 2018, Carroll County was sent a letter to determine their interest in the property, for which no response was received by the Department of General Services. 2019, several adjoining localities, Carroll, Grayson, and Galax, and EDA were provided opportunity to offer proposal for housing children requiring foster care. And BRES reached out to assist with any development plans they may propose. They could have also proposed an alternative use, but DGS did not receive any proposals. 2020, they were authorized to sell the property to a healthcare company agreeing the property to be used for healthcare services for a minimum of 5 years. So far as I can determine, the property sale has not been completed nor recorded in the Carroll County deeds. With 1 entire year providing facts, reports, and pleading, the only action you've really taken was July 19 when you did a resolution asking Virginia to return the property to the county. But no mention was made of the 2 other parcels that had been returned because of the need no longer exists. Where does this resolution stand? Has any follow-up or any further action been taken? Gentlemen, it's our 1-year anniversary. Are you going to give us the paper gift, a paper the county attorney files for an injunction stopping the sale of this training center property while we fight to get our property back that Carroll County citizens pays for? This is the last time some of you will be seated as members of the Board of Supervisors. What will be your legacy? Thank you.
David Boatman is our next sign-up. Please limit comments to those that are new information.
Good to see y'all this evening. Mr. Webb, I know tonight it'd be your last night. I know what happened to you. It was wrong. I'd like to see you go out swinging, not sliding. I'd like for you to stand up for Carroll County, do something.
I'll be more than happy to, sir.
Mr. McCraw, I know you don't want zoning. If this thing's coming, some of the board members do want zoning in this county. If you don't stand up, requesting an ordinance, requesting that injunction to be filed tonight, you're gonna get zoning down in Canaan. Tonight's your last night. You don't go out like that. You'll be remembered for helping the zoning come in. Mr. Hill, you represent us in Sulphur Springs. You know the safety concerns. You've got family members there. Hoping you do something on an ordinance or request that injunction tonight. We need that piece of land back. It'd be great to have a ball field and a basketball gym instantly for the school kids. Whatever happens with the rest of it, y'all can sell it. Do what you want. Control what happens around here. Mr. McCraw, you've known me for years over at Lowe's. Since I was young, starting flipping houses. You know I'm a man of my word. I flew in from Orlando tonight, left my family down there at Disney World just so I could come speak to y'all tonight. I'm gonna join them again tomorrow, but I wanted to be here because I think if I let up, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do to protect my family and my neighbors. Mr. Littrell, this is your last night, I understand, and you've gave good service to this county and community for many years, and I would like to see you step up and do something to help us. You know what's going on. You know what happens behind closed doors. Let's do something to make sure people feel safe in their homes. If y'all feel like this thing is going to bring enough jobs to outweigh the negative, then just come out and say it. Tonight's your night. Tonight's the night to do something. Mr. Moore, same with you. I would love to see you step up and do something and say, hey, why do we not have that injunction? Why do we not have the answer on the land back? Maybe we do and we just haven't heard it in public. Maybe you could say, is there a conflict of interest if someone represents two localities and one locality wants it gone and one locality maybe doesn't want it? Maybe y'all do. I'd like to see somebody tonight say, hey, David, you've been coming for a year wasting your time. This is better for the community than worse. Or, David, what you're doing is right. We need to protect our citizens and our communities, and if it comes, it will be secure. There will be security guards. It won't be a tax burden on the citizens. Mr. Newman, if Ezra lived in this neighborhood next to this facility, would you want this to be unsecured next to him?
Yeah, listen, let me answer your question.
Thank you.
I don't like zoning. I don't think that you should put.
I'm sorry.
Zoning.
You're out of order. You'll have a chance later if you need to.
Why put the burden of zoning on all the Carroll County cities?
I'll give you a chance in just a minute, okay?
Sorry.
Sally Marshall is the next on the list. That's all right, take your time.
I live in front of the training center, and this place is gonna be in my front yard. I've lived here for 33 years with no problems. I felt safe, I felt secure. I've not had to worry about somebody coming in on me, breaking in on me, hurting me, killing me, or whatever. I'm a widow now, and there are two more within a block of me, two more widows. And there's children out there, and I am concerned about our safety. I'm concerned about our houses being broken into and damaged. It bothers me. I want to know, would either one of you all come to my house to protect me if somebody was breaking in? Would you do that? Would you want your family, your wives, your children to be there and somebody breaking in, and you know that the sheriff's department couldn't get there in time to take care of you, to keep you from being hurt? There's no way. What I want is a guarantee that it's going to be a safe neighborhood when they're over there, but I don't feel like it will be. Our residents in the neighborhood, we deserve better. And we've heard about the break-ins in the Galax area, over 400 a year. What's it going to be like in our neighborhood? And well, I'd like to know how each one of you would feel if this was going in your front yard. They've nicknamed us something about backyard, but this is in my front yard. It's something I've got to see every day. And I'm right there, right in front of it. I'm real close by if they want to come into my home. Am I supposed to go out and buy guns? I can shoot a gun, but am I supposed to go out and buy guns to protect myself? If I shoot one of them because they're breaking in, am I going to jail? We need some answers, and we also don't need this in our neighborhood. And I would like to know why the gas line was run down the training center road instead of the airport road. And I'd like to know if this does affect your all's decision. Does that have anything to do with it? Please stand up for us residents, for our safety. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nicole Turbyfield.
Hi. I just recently moved into Willom. I've lived in Galax and Baywood. I'm very nervous about the rehab. I'm pregnant with my 4th child. I live very, very close to the training center. We finally bought a house to where I feel safe with my kids running outside. I don't have to sit outside and watch everything that's going on. And then if this comes, that takes it away from my kids again. You know, we just bought this home. We are adding onto it. I'm afraid it's going to take the value away from my home, because one day we will sell it to maybe put our kids through college or to just move to wherever our kids are going to be. And this will take a toll on that. You know, you want to feel safe with your kids. My husband could be possibly taking a job where he'd be working night shift. That means I'm responsible for my 4 kids. And I do have 4 young kids. Do I want a gun close by to where my 4 kids could touch it? No, we have it put up. But how am I supposed to feel safe with my children at home if that is going to be close by? It's less than a mile from the training center. I'm very concerned about it. You know, like, I'm sure y'all all have kids. Y'all have wives. They're very protective over their kids, right? Especially young ones. So I really want y'all to think about that. I'm not the only one with young kids. You know, the way the world is, you know, both people have to work, and you have kids, so you might have to work opposite schedules. So that means my husband will be gone at night. So I just want y'all to think about that, because it's not just my family, it's multiple families.
Our next speaker is Chase Marshall. Welcome.
I'm here speaking for my grandpa, Rex Marshall, your cousin, Rex Hill. My grandparents live near the old training center, and we need your help to keep them safe and pass an ordinance to protect the elderly of Carroll County from what's coming. Do what's right. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Landon Wild.
First off, I'm going to say I think people should be able to feel safe in their own homes, and that taxes will be raised if y'all let the rehab center come in. I mean, pretend like it's your family that will be living next door. And that's all I have to say. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Mr. Nobley, would you like to speak now?
Yeah, you know, Mr. David Bowman suggested to the town of Hillsville to annex, which I'm totally against. Though I own 15 property on Carrollwood Drive. That means, you know, I'll have to be annexed for 15 property. So that is out of the table, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel. Of course, you don't have control of that. About zoning, we are putting a burden on everybody in Carroll County for something that we may not be able to fight, that we'll never be able to stop them. So that is not a good direction either. So there may be some other ordinance that you can come up with, but those to you, they are no to me. So that much about this. I'd like to have another question though, about the gas line. Are the property owner forced to tie into the gas line or not? The one that don't tie in, they must pay a fee like you do with the water line? Mr. Moore maybe can answer that.
No, sir. Have you ever been asked to do that?
No, I heard the rumor, you know.
Yes.
There's a rumor around, and that I was concerned about.
No, sir.
Because, you know, I'll have to tie in 15, pay for 15 connection that none of my renter can afford to use.
That would be no, sir.
Yeah, you must change all the appliances. It's a big cost to go to the gas line. Plus, the hazard involved. Yeah, once in a while, you hear that a big boom, blew up something, and that's another issue. But thank you. Appreciate that you let me talk, okay?
You're welcome. Thank you. That is everyone who has signed up. Does anyone else like to speak during our citizens' time for anything? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the citizens' time. And I have asked our attorney, Steve Durbin, to come and speak to some of the issues that you all have raised during your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Littrell. First thing I'd like to say is just to make it very clear for everyone, no one from any other locality has ever said a word to me about the training center. Never once mentioned that any locality wants it gone from where the training center currently, or from the life center is. Never had any discussions with any other locality regarding the life center, wanting it gone. And frankly, what's proposed by the life center and with regard to the training center is not leaving the city of Galax and coming to that facility. It's not a replacement of the Galax facility. It would be an expansion of the operations in our area. I will also say, to my knowledge, nothing has been recorded. The deal has not been consummated. I've checked the land records today. I did not see anything to the effect that that sale has gone through. As you did, Dr. Littrell, I want to thank the citizens for coming out. I certainly understand their frustrations. However, I think the energy needs to be focused on the Commonwealth and our representatives in Richmond who may be able to do something about this. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors has very limited options to address the concerns that have been raised tonight. I certainly also want to acknowledge the frustrations the citizens had with the Certificate of Public Need process. After review, it turned out that this operation would be exempt from the COPN process, but that doesn't take away from how poorly the process was handled, with public hearing being in Galax and the concerns of the citizens being largely dismissed by the applicants. I also want to address the question has been raised. Why did Carroll County never respond to the October 12, 2018 letter when the property was offered to Carroll County? I'll say that I've never seen this alleged letter, never received it myself. County staff has looked for it. I never located this letter. It's not clear to me that this was ever received. But to some extent, I think that's a bit of a red herring, because if you look back at 2018, and the financial situation that the county was in at that time, it would have been next to impossible to consummate a deal for $3.9+ million. Jail expenses were at one of the highest levels, if not the highest level ever for Carroll County, largely due to the opioid pandemic, methamphetamines, and other drugs that we were dealing with. Social services expenses were high for similar reasons. School debt and other outstanding debts were at or near their highest levels. Tax increases were on the horizon, and purchasing the training center property would have only added to that financial burden. It wouldn't have been feasible at that time. we were only collecting taxes once per year, and we had to use revenue anticipation notes in 2016, 2017, 2018, just to meet our cash flow needs and not default on our obligations. When you have to borrow money just to make payroll, investing in real estate is a bit of a challenge. So again, I think that 2018 offer is a bit of a red herring. It's also been raised as a concern that no proposal was made for alternative use of the property by the shareholders of Carroll and Grayson counties, the city of Galax, and Brasida. I can only say that I'm advised that discussions were had to try to locate a private sector user for that property, but those efforts have not been successful to date, but that's not for lack of interest. Concerns, I don't believe it was raised tonight, but a concern was raised regarding the process, and that information may have been provided to the Life Center in seeking to acquire the property, but not fairly provided to other potential purchasers. In response to that, the county did take action and filed a complaint with the Inspector General's office. We provided all the information that we had. We provided the contact information for the complaining witnesses, and beyond that, it really is beyond what the county can do or investigate. That's not the scope of the county's role, but it is something that the county took seriously and reported. It would not be something that the county could take legal action on simply because of standing. The county can't step into the shoes of a private business or private citizen and take a court action on its behalf. If anyone who's attempted to purchase that property feels there was a impropriety in the process, then that would be something for them to discuss with their own legal counsel about taking action, but not something that the county could step into their shoes. It would be similar to the county, if someone were injured in a car accident in Carroll County and the county's stepping into the plaintiff's shoes and suing the other driver. It's just, that's not something the county has any authority to do. Likewise, the county can't step into the shoes of someone who would have attempted to purchase that property. It's been raised several times that an injunction should be filed, that this property was always intended to come back to the county. But when you examine the public record, that's simply not the case. I've seen the claim, heard the claim that in the 70s, these 3 parcels of land were purchased by Carroll County taxpayers and given to the state for the sole use of the training center, with the understanding that if the state no longer used that land for that purpose, it would come back to Carroll County. And it is claimed that this is per the only living Board of Supervisors member who's still with us today, who was part of that at this time. I'm not doubting that individual's recollection, but it would take something in the public record in order to take action beyond one person's recollection and testimony. I've also heard that per the land records, this was always intended, but when you look at the land records, there's no reverter clause in the deed. There's nothing. I've examined the minutes book from the Board of Supervisors for 1971. There's nothing in there saying that this property would be reconveyed. Nothing that I've been able to locate saying that Carroll County would get that property back. And the problem is that under Virginia law, a reverter clause, like what we're talking about here, it must be stated in the deed. Oral promises, oral agreements as to real estate are simply unenforceable in most circumstances. And that's pursuant to the Virginia Statute of Frauds. Statute of Frauds is enshrined in Virginia law in Virginia Code Section 11-2, but it goes back in other forms all the way to the law of England and our colonial history. But in a nutshell, it provides that agreements regarding a conveyance or reconveyance of real estate must be in writing and signed by the person against whom you're seeking to enforce. So if there were a contract between the county and the Commonwealth, if there were a provision in the deed, a reversionary interest in the deed of conveyance from the original owners to the Commonwealth, then yes, there would be a good basis for a cause of action. But without that, the statute of frauds clearly provides, and I'll quote, "Unless a promise, contract, agreement, representation, assurance, or ratification, or some memorandum or note thereof is in writing and signed by the party to be charged or his agent, no action shall be brought in any of the following cases." Call your attention to paragraph 6 of the statute of frauds. "Upon any contract for the sale of real estate or for the lease thereof for more than a year." 7, upon any agreement or contract for services to be performed in the sale of real estate. 8, upon any agreement that is not to be performed within 1 year. So what does that mean? It means that it must be in writing. In many circumstances, oral contracts can be enforced in a court of law, but not as to the sale of land, not for an agreement that's not to be performed within the scope of 1 year. Those must be in writing in order to maintain a court action to enforce it. So what does the deed say? Is there a written clause for the county to get the land back? No. The only conditions that's actually stated in that deed is as follows, and I'll quote, "This conveyance is made subject to the following condition and limitation hereinafter set forth. It is understood and agreed that the parties of the first part reserve a set of cattle scales situated on the premises, and the parties of the first part covenant and agree that they will remove said cattle scales at their own expense within 30 days from the date, execution, and delivery of this deed, to wit, the 30th day of June, 1971. This shows the parties did negotiate special conditions and knew how to put them in the deed. So if we try to enforce a reversionary provision that's not located in the deed, that's Exhibit 1. The parties knew how to put a reversionary interest in the deed if that's what was actually intended and agreed. The lack of that in the deed, the lack of that reference in the public record puts this under the bar of the statute of frauds, in my view. I think it's pretty clear. Because there's no reversion contained in the deed, the statute of frauds would require some other written proof that the Commonwealth agreed to reconvey the property to the county. And thus far, in reviewing the Acts of Assembly of the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Board of Supervisors minutes book, and the land records of the Circuit Court Clerk's Office, I'm not seeing anything that gives us a written provision that would satisfy the statute of frauds. If any member of the public is aware of such, I'd ask that they email that to me, provide it to me, and we can certainly reconsider our position. But right now, there's nothing in the public record that would support a claim for reversion.
I'll provide it right now.
I'm sorry, you're out of, David, David,
Written in there for those parties to come back.
David, you are out of order, please.
You said provide it now, sir.
I don't think I said provide it now. I said provide it to me, but I think it's a false statement to say that this is clear or easy, and I'll address the issue that Mr. Bowman raised. It's been raised several times that the Commonwealth returned some of the training property to the county in the past when it was no longer being used. That's an inaccurate statement. It was never returned to the county because the county was not the donor originally. There was land that was provided back to the previous donors. But both, and that was June Harmon, the June Harmon property that I'm talking about, and the J.L. Harmon lumber property. Those were originally acquired for road access. No road was ever reconstructed on those properties, and the Commonwealth made no use of that land at all. That's why it was reconveyed. The Acts of Assembly specifically state that as to the J.L. Harmon lumber property, it appearing unlikely that any beneficial use thereof will accrue to the Commonwealth, the property is to be reconveyed. That was based on an act of the General Assembly. If the General Assembly were to pass an act of assembly that pertained to this property in particular, to reconvey that property, or to convey it to the county, or reconvey it to the original donors, that would be something that you could latch onto. But there's nothing in the record that addresses this property. The General Assembly took specific action on 2 previous properties that were not developed. That doesn't get us anywhere with regard to the property on which the training center was actually constructed. Same as to the June Harmon property, the Commonwealth determined that no beneficial use was fulfilled by the donation, and so it was returned. That's not the case with the training center, where the Commonwealth invested, I mean, in all fairness, the Commonwealth invested millions of dollars and employed scores of people for decades on that property. There was a beneficial use to that. So it is distinguished on that basis alone. Now, it's been stated that this third parcel is just sitting ready to be returned to us, the taxpayers, valued at $9 million plus if the supervisors demand its return. I certainly have no objection to the Board of Supervisors reaching out to the governor-elect, any other members of the administration, or our legislators to see what can be done. It's my understanding that efforts have been made in the past, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that continuing. But stating that it's a simple matter to file an injunction to get the property back and that would be easy, that's just inaccurate. It's been stated that this could easily be done with an injunction on the sale and a court filing by the county attorney stating that a land dispute with the state, a land dispute with the state and demanding it to be returned as it was always supposed to. Well, first of all, we have the statute of frauds issue. Secondly, case after case makes clear that in Virginia and in the federal court system, the granting of an injunction is an extraordinary remedy. It's not easily granted. You must convince the court that the circumstances are truly extraordinary. You must show that you will likely suffer an irreparable harm, and you must show a likelihood of winning on the merits at the ultimate trial. Where's the likelihood of that if the statute of frauds can't be satisfied? If we had something in writing in the public record saying this property is to be conveyed to Carroll County, if it ever stops being used as a training center, then yes, that would be a case for an injunction, and we'd be racing to the courthouse. But that's simply not the case. There's nothing that we've been able to locate in the public record that satisfies that. Now, it's a fair question to ask, why would the Commonwealth reconvey these other two properties to the original owners but not reconvey this property? And I think that the answer is that those two other properties were not made of beneficial use, but the training center was. Millions of dollars, jobs created, many people educated and housed there over the decades. It's had a beneficial use, and so it's distinguished. For all these reasons, I think litigation, and as I've told the members in the past, I think litigation on that basis is unlikely to yield fruit. I think the best course is to contact our representatives in Richmond and at the same time continue to move forward with the update of the comprehensive plan and be prepared for a zoning ordinance if that's your pleasure. Preparing a zoning ordinance does not mean you're going to adopt it. It's just something to have on hand. I'm not advocating that that is the course that you want to take, but if you want to have some options, those are the steps to take at this time. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to address it.
Address Mr. Nobley's question about the gas line. I mean, that's a private entity or a corporation that has nothing to do with the county.
I think Mr. Moore addressed it very well. There's the gas company has the right of eminent domain to put their lines in. They don't have the ability to impose a mandatory connection or require anyone to sign up for natural gas. And it's my understanding in this economy, I don't think the gas company's having any trouble getting takers on that. So I don't think they have any need for a mandatory connection.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is the payment of invoices. Everybody's had a chance to look at those. I'll need a motion to accept those if that's your wish.
I make a motion, we accept the payment of invoices.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion you would like to make on that? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. The next item is to accept the minutes or modify them from our last meeting, which I believe was November the 9th. And I would need a motion to accept those or to modify them if they need to be changed.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. Moving to new business, our first item is local emergency, a burn ban. Everybody knows that we've had very little rain recently, unless you had it last week and I wasn't here.
I think there was some, but not much.
Okay, but anyway, there is some concern that the brush and the undergrowth has gotten very, very dry, and we certainly don't want to have a Pilot Mountain problem around here, so we are looking at possibly accepting a burn ban for the county. Mike, you want to discuss that at all?
I think you covered it real well. In order for the county would need to declare an emergency due to the dry weather. There has been quite a bit of dry weather, and you would see a lot of issues that come from it. In your package, you have a proposed ban that would go into effect as of tomorrow and last for
June 14. I mean, January 14.
January the 14th.
January 14th.
That'd be correct. So it's really if there's a I guess a thought that there might be damage during this holiday season, if and without the lack of rain, this might be a good way to prevent some loss during this time if the board feels it's necessary.
That would take a motion to put.
That would take a motion and a vote. Yes.
I hope everybody's had a chance to read it, but it basically states that we declare a local emergency and we would like to have these actions put into place.
If we were to get wet weather, can we remove the ban without having to have a meeting to remove it, or?
We could release it.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we enforce this burn ban.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Webb,
No.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Robin McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
No.
and I vote yes. The vote passes the motion passes 4-2. The next item is the consent calendar, and we would need a motion to accept that if you agree. Hopefully you've had a chance to look it over.
I make a motion that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. We now have a Virginia Cooperative Extension discussion. Is Ashley Edwards here? You're hiding. I couldn't see you. Between that and the mask. Welcome.
Thank you. Before I start, I want to pass out something I made. I like, so just a little bit about my program specifically, but we all, the three agents are here tonight, and we're going to give you very brief updates on kind of what we've been up to
Thank you.
this calendar year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for letting us come to present to you all tonight. I'm going to start us off first and just introduction. I've been here before, but it's been a while. I'm pre-COVID, and we're just going to start fresh. My name's Ashley Edwards. I'm the horticulture agent for the county, specifically with commercial horticulture. So most of my programming is with our fruit and vegetable producers. So I do a lot of work with them, but, you know, as Extension is, we serve the needs, so whatever pops up, I'll do a lot of that as well. So the sheet that I passed out to you is really specific to my work within the horticulture program. As you probably know, but I'll mention it again, my position specifically is a multi-county position. So I serve 3 counties. Carroll is, you all are lucky because I'm housed here, and we have the majority of the fruit and veggie production, so the majority of my work is here. And I have put a couple of impacts on this sheet that I passed out to you all, talking about kind of the external funding. So that's the money that I bring in to support my own programs. That's not something that comes from the county. So that's sponsorships, fees, grants, etc. So that's kind of how my programs can self-sustain. I've also put my contacts for the year. Interesting switch, as you probably can well guess, is a lot of our contacts have geared to be more virtual, just because that's due to COVID, the comfort level of our audiences. Also within Extension, we've kind of learned you can get a lot broader speakers if you have less travel. So that's been a swap for us, but I have learned the more that we do virtually, the better I'm able to record and keep things for later use. So I have implemented a YouTube channel, which has gotten, as you can look at that pie chart, 51% of my contacts for the year has come from either social media or YouTube views. So that was a surprise to me as well. On the back of the sheet, I've kind of listed some of my big ticket program areas. As you are well aware, I do a lot of work with our tree fruit guys, vegetable production, specifically for me. And then within the office, we do a lot of programming that is working together across program areas. So Steve, who'll talk in a moment, and I do a lot of programming together, including pesticide safety education, and then helping each other out with youth programming and 4-H type activities, such as the Ag Education Days, which occurs at the county fair every year. This year, I think it was over 800 students came through the fair, and that's wonderful. We were able to do that safely, effectively, and we just really thank all of the volunteers and people that help make that event happen every year. So I'll spare you the rest of it, but this is kind of the base of what I do year to year. Some positive things that have happened in the past little bit with our office. We are back to full staff, so we have just recently hired our new unit administrative assistant who is in. So we have our stable, welcoming face at the door, which we haven't had in since before COVID. So we're very glad to have that stability in the office, someone there to greet clients, answer the phone, help us with our day-to-day tasks. We're extremely thrilled to have her. And also we have recently hired a new 4-H agent. I'm going to let her introduce herself in a moment. Basically, just for the sake of your all's time, I want to stop there, but I do want to thank you all for your continued support of Extension. Let you know that, if there's anything that comes up that you feel like we could be of benefit to the county, please let us know. We are very grateful for your support, and continually look forward to working with the whole county in the future. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Steve and let him do his A&R update. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Good evening,
Welcome,
gentlemen. Thanks for listening to us. I just want to do a real quick update on some of the programming that I've been doing here lately. Just hopefully highlight 3 programs here. Hopefully this works. Whoops. Yeah, okay. So the first one, there we go, that I want to talk about is our the VQA, which stands for Virginia Quality Assured Feeder Cattle Program. We started this last year, and it's been very, very successful. Basically, it's working with the Virginia Cattlemen's Association, the Virginia Department of Ag and Consumer Services, and it's for the Carroll Grayson cattle producers. And what happens is we have been commingling cattle. in order to get a better price, you commingle cattle, because buyers like to see cattle sold in semi-tractor trailer loads of about 48 to 50,000 pounds. That's usually 60 to 70 head of feeder cattle. And most producers in Carroll County do not produce 60 or 70 head of cattle. So the idea is we're going to commingle them, and we've been very, very successful doing that. And Virginia has a program that's, the requirements are to go into this program is basically that they're vaccinated for the respiratory diseases and that that they are weaned. And those are the two main things. There's a lot of other things on here. But if we can do those things, commingle those cattle, we've done about almost 1,000 head this year. And looking at some numbers here, if you look at those, and we base this on what we're doing, the premium going through the Virginia tele-auction here as opposed to a local buying station, it's on the average, it averages about 100 and, I think I didn't put that down, but about $129 a head last year for a total of extra is $127,000 brought into the county for not doing anything different except for pooling their cattle. So that's quite a premium. And this is basically, the 944 cattle came from both Carroll and Grayson County, but about half came from Carroll County and half came from Grayson County, so about half and half. So 127,000 basically just for pooling your cattle. So I'm just amazed. Every time we do this, I'm just amazed the difference it makes. Another program that we've been doing is the water program, the water testing program. Now, some of you have been involved in this room, I know. And what's happened, this is from 2011 to 2017, and you look at those numbers, we talk about lead and E. coli, which are some pretty bad things, that we're talking about 10 and 11% of the water samples have been contaminated. So we do have a problem in the county, and that's why we do this program. Now, for last year, in 2021, we did this. We did 21 samples, and as you can see, we had about 16%, 17% was high chloroform bacteria. The pH was high. That's not unusual because the water in this area is naturally acidic anyway. But again, what kind of amazes me too, on the water samples there, 17% exceeds the standard for, this is from the EPA, for copper, and about 4% for lead. So there is still kind of a problem here, and that's why we do this program. It only costs $60 to do this, and we do 14 different parameters versus the $300 if you did that at a commercial lab. We plan to do that again in April of this coming year, 2020. And then the last program I wanted to talk about really quickly, this is a USDA, they call it a non-insured crop disaster assistance programs, and basically it's based on the quality loss on forage hay. This is an interesting program, and we could be here all night explaining it, but what happens is that producers, if they sign up for this program from USDA, FSA, it's based on loss of quality in the hay and loss of production in the hay, and all this hay must be sampled and analyzed. And I've been doing most of the sampling in the county, and it's a great opportunity to work with these producers to help them do a better job of feeding their cattle a better nutrition program. And I've talked to a lot of producers through this program that I wouldn't have talked to normally. So I've gone around and taken a lot of hay samples. In 2019, I only did 39 samples. Last year, I did 181, and this year I did 127. For each sample, you have to do 10 bales. So that's like 3,400 bales that I've sampled. The amazing thing is, if you look at that bottom number, is from 19 and 20, there's a premium of $727,000 have come into Carroll County from the FSA. I don't know yet what it's, because they haven't got all the numbers out for this year yet, what it's going to be, but that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing that the federal government puts that much money into the county and through this program. So that's a real quick on some of the other things we've been doing. Real quick, Ashley mentioned our pesticide recertification and so on, but those are some of the other programs that we've been doing. We do what we call our Mountain Mama heifer sale this year for Carroll and Grayson producers. It grossed $235,000, which we thought we had a great sale. So again, we appreciate the county's support into our extension. We work very, very hard to serve the producers and the people of Carroll County, and really appreciate the support of the county and the county administration and the Board of Supervisors. So with that, Chloe, would you like to come up?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Sutherland, and I am the new 4-H agent. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I started on Friday, and I am super excited to be here in Carroll County, and I'm looking forward to all the youth development programs that I'm going to be implementing within the next year. Thank you all.
Welcome. Thank you all for that update. That's very informative. Our next item is the Carroll County Genealogy Club lease extension. Is William Hurst here? Did you have something you'd like to?
What you have in front of you is a lease agreement that I believe was signed on last year, January 27th, 2020. This term automatic renews for additional up to 9 years. This is mainly just a formality in order to approve this lease for the upcoming year. So they're operating, they've been operating, and they'll continue to operate. It's just something to do to cross the T's and dot the I's. And I would request a vote just to reapprove this lease.
It's an annual lease.
It's annual renewable lease. It's an annual lease that renews every year up to a total of 9 years.
Okay. Is there a motion that we do the Carroll County Genealogy Club lease extension for next year?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll start the voting with Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. The next item is the budget calendar for the upcoming budget. And Justin, would you like to talk about that?
Sure. So we put together a 10-year calendar with the change in administration at the state level. There's probably some changes in the state budget. So at preliminary, this is what we expect. Obviously, there's going to be changes to the governor's budget, which will impact the schools. It's also a big part of ours. So we'll probably they're tentative. Hopefully, we go through with these, but there may be change in those based on those budgets. We'll be sending out, if this is approved, we'll be sending out request letters to departments to have them fill out and submit their request back by mid-January, and then that'll give us time to pull everything together and then start working with the board.
Now, I think the new board would need to set a budget committee the first part of January. Any discussion on the budget calendar? We would need a motion to approve it if you agree.
Make a motion, we approve the budget calendar.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll start the voting with Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Abstain.
Mr. Webb.
I abstain.
Well, I guess I ought to abstain too then, but I think it's a good idea, so I'll vote yes. So the vote is 4 and 2 abstentions. Our next item is the third quarter appropriations. Mike or Justin, who wants to speak to that?
So this is just a continuation of our appropriations. So we basically take our budget, there's certain things we pull out that we use and we got to pay up front. But this is kind of the standard third quarter for what's going on.
We would need to accept that if you agree or modify it. If not,
I'll make a motion, we approve the third quarter appropriations.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the third quarter appropriations?
Is this something that will affect Joe and I and yourself, or can we vote on this?
I'm sorry. You were talking to Justin?
Yeah, I think either way, I mean, it's part of the budget that you all passed, it was just giving us authorization for that. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? I'll start the voting to accept the third quarter appropriations with Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. The next item is to set the organizational meeting. And from our county administrator, he suggested that you all do it on Monday, January the 3rd, beginning at 4 p.m., with a regular board meeting on January the 10th, beginning at 4:30. If you would like to change that, this will be the time.
Let's ask our new board members if that works for them.
The organizational meeting will be Monday, January the 3rd, beginning at 4. And the regular January board meeting, which is the second Monday, will be January the 10th, beginning at 4:30.
That's fine with me. Later's better for me.
I'd set it up so we get. I'll make that motion that we do that,
These times and dates?
4:30.
4:30 on the 3rd.
Oh, on the 3rd, okay, I couldn't hear that. So the motion is to begin the organizational meeting on January the 3rd at 4:30 and the regular board meeting on January the 10th at 4:30. Is that correct? Okay. Was there a second to that?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? So when you're ready to vote, I'll start the vote with Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
All their head shit, so I'll say yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Moore. I vote yes. We have a couple of nonprofit grant applications, one from the Hale Wilkerson Carter Home Foundation and one from the Webb Southern Carroll Community Center. Would you like to talk about that, Mike?
Okay, in your package, you received a request for the Hale Wilkerson Carter Home, asking for assistance with a wood roof repair. In their request, they had originally asked for $22,854.40. Staff did reach out to them and discussed what the dire need was, which was $10,000. Of course, they would request at $22,854.40. It was total cost of the roof was the $64,494.37, with the insurance company covering $41,639.97. That's where the $22,854.40 comes from. That's the difference between what the insurance paid and what the cost was. In the past years, which this falls underneath an unusual circumstance, in the past years we did allocate funds. However, this year during the budget, we switched it to a grant program, so they apply through the grant for this. Generally, the grants are for $5,000 so far, the max so far. However, $10,000 toward this project, we should be able to find the money for it. If this is something we want to support.
Then we budget $25,000 anyway.
Yes, sir.
So the Hale Wilkerson is asking for $10,000. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're asking for $22,854.40, but when we reached out to them,
It sounds like you've got them down to 10, though.
yes.
We had another couple in the past, did we not? Did Landsberg, was Landsberg one of them?
We did 5,000 for, I think, Lambsburg, and Justin, is that the only one we've?
That's the only one so far. The other one in the packet is,
And these have all been for, I believe it was for all, we're trying to make it go toward capital investments. So these are not operating costs.
Would you all want to do these separately or together?
Doesn't matter to me.
I make a motion to approve both. What was it? 10,000, 5,000?
That's correct. The Webb Southern Carroll Community Center on Fancy Gap Highway have requested $5,000. Their capital project was a heating and cooling system for $10,617.
Do we have any mechanism to make sure they do that with what we give them?
the website and Carroll, they've already asked for this one.
I'll accept the motion for one or both of these,
I'll make a motion for both.
for 10 and 5.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, the motion is to give the Hale Wilkerson Carter Home Foundation $10,000 of a grant at the Webb Sutherland Carroll Community Center, $5,000. Hearing no other discussion, I'll start the voting with Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Philip McCraw, Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. The next item is a holiday resolution for the court. I understand this came from the judge.
That's correct.
Would you like to speak to that, Mike?
This is a resolution that they've done in the past, and I want to say we did it last year. What this does is allow the court system to follow the dates that are set forth by the governor, which are listed below. So it's really a way of the court to follow this guideline.
So I need a motion to accept this resolution of the holidays. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Moore, Mr. Webb,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. That's all the new business that I have. We'll go into old business. There's only one item there, opioid litigation, and I think Steve is going to cover 3 points in that.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Littrell. What you have before you are 2 resolutions and 1 MOU. The county has been engaged in opioid litigation for well over a year now, seeking recovery from the responsible parties who created and exacerbated the opioid crisis nationwide. These claims have been pursued both in Virginia state courts by certain members of the Virginia local government community. Carroll County and some of its neighbors have pursued a national strategy, filing suit in federal courts that's been consolidated in the federal court in Cleveland, where much of this is taking place. As a result of these efforts, there are a number of settlements that are now before you for approval. You've already taken action on the Purdue and the Mallinckrodt bankruptcy actions, settlements. And now what is before you for decision is the settlements for the big three distributors and Janssen Pharmaceuticals. This represents an approximately $26 billion settlement. It is the recommendation of your Opioid Litigation Council to approve these settlements, which must be approved, registered, signed by your designated representatives, and submitted no later than January 2nd, 2022 in order to participate. Additionally, you're being asked to approve a resolution agreeing to the Virginia Memorandum of Understanding with the Attorney General's Office, which would govern how the settlement proceeds would be distributed in Virginia. Roughly 15% of that would come to the localities directly. Another 15% would flow to the localities indirectly through the Opioid Abatement Authority that will be formed pursuant to this Memorandum of Understanding. Another, I believe, 15% goes to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the remainder goes to the Abatement Authority for projects that would help to address the opioid crisis in terms of prevention, rehabilitation, naloxone supplies, any number of mitigation measures to stem the tide of the opioid epidemic. With regard to the money that will flow directly to the localities or through the Abatement Authority, the MOU also provides a formula for how those monies will be allocated based on a number of criteria, but basically some objective measures on how the opioid crisis has impacted each locality individually in terms of opioid deaths, hospitalizations, opioid prescriptions filled within the locality. So with all of that, that's what you're being asked to approve. We've had updates along the way, so none of this is a surprise to you, but this does represent a very significant milestone in the litigation, a $20+ billion settlement. So it would be our request that and the recommendation of Opioid Litigation Council to take up item A1, the Opioid Litigation Resolution, for approval, and item A2, which is approval of the MOU, and adoption of item 2 would authorize the signature to item 3. So I'd be looking for 2 votes this evening.
Separate?
Yes.
And the first vote will be for 1 and 2, or just 1?
The first vote would be to approve the Opioid Litigation Resolution, item 1.
Just want to make clear what you were saying.
It has a lot of moving parts there, so.
Thank you for that update, and that looks like that could be a windfall for the county in some months to come. So we need a motion and a second for A1, Opioid Litigation Resolution, to accept that resolution.
I make a motion, we accept that resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Robbie McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Hill.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. And the second motion needs to be for A2.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
That's a resolution for Virginia MOU.
Yes.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Moore. Mr. Webb.
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. And that takes care of 3A.
It does. That item 2 authorizes the signature to
Okay.
3.
I have no other old business listed. Does anybody have any old business? If not, we'll start with our board member comments, and I'll start with Mr. Robbie McCraw.
Thank you. Just like to thank everyone for being here tonight. And I'd like to let Joe and Phil, Tom know how much I've enjoyed y'all being on the board with us, and the work we've done together. And y'all have been great to work with, and I wish you all the best in the future. And I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
So I want to agree with Robbie. It's been great working with you guys. Sometimes we don't always agree, but that's the way life is. We're not going to agree on everything, but it's been great working with everybody. I appreciate everybody coming in, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and stay safe.
Thank you. Mr. Webb.
Thank you, sir. This is my last meeting, as I chose not to run for re-election. It's been 4 years I'll never forget. Just a little side story, when I decided to run for the Board of Supervisors, my wife told me that was the dumbest thing I'd ever done in my life. And I told her, I said, well, I was dumb when you married me. So why do you think it'd be any better? But I don't regret anything that I've tried to bring to the board in the past 4 years. Got a few things done, didn't get a few things done. I think that, or I feel like personally that I'm leaving the county in better shape than it was when I got here. And that is thanks to our staff and these board members and the people I represent in the Law Fort District. They showed faith in me 4 years ago, and I'm sure they'll show faith in my predecessor, Mr. Early. I want to welcome the new board members coming on board next month. Got your hands full, gentlemen. I think you've probably seen that in the last 2 months. But other than that, I want to wish the staff, all you guys sitting up here on the board, a Merry Christmas. And I want to thank the staff. This whole staff up here is just unreal. I mean, anything you need at any time, day or night, they're right there. And if they don't have the answer, they get it for you. Other than that, good luck.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Philip McCraw.
We've had several come in about the training center. I feel that you do. It's been a big concern of mine. We lost employment with some of my family, some of my friends, neighbors, and we lost that. I drove by the other day out there. I was there when it was operating. It was all neat, clean, and pretty good. 98 acres laying there right near the county seat here. I hate to see it, but I mowed down, getting clean. And not being used, we still have some needs of it. And I have a concern for y'all with people's safety. I understand that. And I just really cannot understand why we lost it. But we'll get off of that. I could talk on that. I want to thank the voters. Thanks again, district, for having me the opportunity to serve. There's 5 things that I have sought to see done that didn't happen. I had hoped to see Old Appalachian Trail improved, Russia Fork Road up, graded there for the trucks to come through, better signage at the top of the mountain on 52 and a turnaround spot for the truckers that not allowed to come down. They don't have adequate turnaround space for them. I begged for that, pleaded for it, we didn't get it. Better signals at exit 1 over there. The trucker misses that, they go into Lambsburg, know where to turn around, and he keeps climbing the mountain and he gets stuck. They could do better signage on it. And Piper Cat Mountain, we had neighbors up there that happened to have a collision. Troopers couldn't give a ticket because the road wasn't marked. And I talked to them about that. The road's not wide enough, so they can't mark it. I'd love to see that widened, where it could have a mark in it, center mark. And I thank all the board members, all the staff here, everybody has been super. There's some questions I have, and I've had them. and they've all been there for me. And I've been back just a few months and thank the ones that applied for the county administrator job. We had some super applicants, and we had one that we picked, that I want to thank him for coming on board with us. His job's not been easy, but he just worked right through it. And we got a new finance man there that's doing a super job, thank him. And the budget was tight. We all had good cooperation out of all of them that had a budget. They cut what they could cut. They did what they could to help us. I appreciate that. Yeah. You know, we look at the debt. Some of it won't be paid off 2055, 2054. Well, that's another 8 to 10 supervisor terms for some of that to be paid off. And let's see, why did it happen? It was there, so we might as well face it. And I want to thank all the employees of Carroll County, the teachers and everybody, sheriff, deputies, everybody that's got a job at the county. I wouldn't want to start naming them, but I did, so excuse me for that. I know I missed some, so just everybody is important, and everybody is doing a good job for the county. I appreciate that. There's my seat transferred to Mr. Ronnie Collins sitting back there. I wish him the best, county the best, and hope him smooth sailing. Wish all y'all Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. God bless you all and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. I had a 10-page farewell address, but I decided to scrap it and just make a couple of notes here. But we officially have 18 days left to be in our position, but I guess this will be our last meeting unless something emergency comes up. But our 3 board-elect members have been coming to the last several meetings and closed sessions, so there should be a seamless transition between the 3 of us that are going off the board and the new folks, new faces that'll come on January the 1st at 12:01 or midnight that night. I'd like to thank a few people myself, and actually one of them is in the room now that is not normally here, but my better 3/4 over in the far corner, my wife Faye. She's hung with me for 14 years, putting up with all the stuff that I've been going through, so I appreciate it very much. And also the staff has been particularly helpful, and the one that I would really put a hat on is Crystal. She's not even in the room, but she has always been able to put her finger on whatever I need and accomplish whatever comes along. And I have thoroughly enjoyed being with all my fellow board members. You all have been the backbone of the board. And other than that, I have enjoyed my 14 years. I appreciate it. It's been an honor to represent Piper's Gap in particular, in Carroll County in general. And so with that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and best of wishes next year with Wildwood. Steve, I think you're next.
I haven't had my turn.
Oh.
But
You're right. I skipped right over you again. I'm sorry.
I think he was doing that on intention.
was that what you just did? All right. Pass it to Mr. Durbin. I want final say tonight.
Fair enough. Dr. Litchell, as it turns out, when you were thanking Crystal, she was actually doing one more essential task for the county, for which I thank her. We will need to, before you're adjourning tonight, there's one issue I think you still need to revisit, and that is the burn ban. As we were discussing, I had a chance to just pull up the code one more time, just very quickly. And in order to effect the burn ban, not only does it require the declaration of emergency, which you approved, it also requires the imposition of an emergency ordinance. So I have prepared a simple emergency ordinance for your consideration. Crystal very quickly made copies and put it before you all. I would just add that this puts the burn ban into effect. It is up to you to determine how long you want it into effect. The default is 60 days for an ordinance that's not advertised for public hearing. Of course, you can always make a motion to amend that to 30 days. I think the declaration was till January 14th, so you'll want to take some action to harmonize those, but I wouldn't want to let you adjourn without completing the process. And sorry for the confusion.
I thought I was finished.
One more task for you before you
Okay,
arrive.
so we need to adopt this, is that correct?
Yes, and I would suggest in your motion to either also either extend the declaration of emergency for 60 days or shorten this till the time period you set in your declaration, which was January.
What would you folks that are
January
going to be here in January prefer to do?
I think it just needs to be 30 days, or until,
January 14th is what you put in.
yeah, or until the weather allows. I mean,
It would be, you could, it would remain into effect until January 14th or until the declaration of emergency is rescinded.
Okay.
If that's your, that would be a motion you could make.
I so move.
Thank you, Mr.
He
McCraw.
put words in your mouth.
He put them in there, yeah.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Assuming you're ready to vote, all those that are ready to vote on the ordinance prohibiting the open burning on public property and prohibiting open burning on private property in the declared times, I will ask for your vote. Mr. Moore?
No.
Did you say no?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Robbie McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Philip McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
No.
And I vote yes. The motion passes 4-2. Now, where, you got me all confused now. Is it Mike's turn?
Well, you know, it has been a little bit over a year since y'all hired me as county administrator, and I appreciate it. It's been a good year. I've got to see all the things that y'all have accomplished in the past time with my 3 board members that are leaving me for the past a year. I appreciate everything you've done. I've enjoyed working with each one of you. You know, the phone calls, the discussions, you know, we don't always see eye to eye, as it was said before, but I think we've all become friends over this time. I'd just like to take a second to thank you and for all that you've done, the existing board, as we move forward and welcome the new board as they come on in January. They've got a rocky road. I don't know if they've known what they bite off, but we'll sure show you what there is to bite off. It's going to be a good run, and we're looking forward to it, and wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. County Attorney, you have any last words?
I think I've done enough.
Okay. You weren't in here, Crystal, but I thank you for being the best executive secretary assistant that I have ever seen, and thank you for everything. And getting all this stuff together, it just doubles that because you were out working hard when I was thanking you. I will take a motion for adjournment.
I still haven't had my opportunity to talk, Dr.
We'll have to wait a minute.
I have your name marked off here.
You missed Mark. Paul, have I got to speak? All right.
Sorry. Go right ahead.
I know. But no, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank Mr. Boatman and his group for coming and speaking to us again tonight, and just keeping us vigilant and aware and bringing things to light so the county attorney can act and give us the best information, legal advice that he can give us. And Lord knows we're not all lawyers, but you know we do have to listen what the legal advice we do get. But thank them, thank all the citizens that come and talk. Mr. Goat, I think he does a great job in the clerk's office, and my heart bleeds for them, you know, losing an employee, not only there, but of course county's tough, but thank him for all they do. I want to remind everybody that the Carroll County Middle School FFA is doing a new blanket drive for the people that had such devastation in Kentucky, and they'll be accepting blankets to the middle school up until Friday, and then take them out to the people. So if anybody could see it upon their heart. There's a lot of people out here at the holidays just devastated, and that's, we gotta, let's lift them up and remember them in prayer, and hope everybody has a prosperous and wonderful holiday season. I look forward, like I say, to working with Mr. Collins and Mr. Early and Mr. Dixon. Appreciate y'all's opportunity to serve, and it's an honor for me tonight to get to present the final thing for the board members going out. So we'll do this as they were handed to me. So they're in no order. So at this time, I'd asked Joni Webb to come up. And I didn't know that I was going to be the one presenting these, but
I knew I was trying to give you a reason not to speak.
yeah, that's it. But I will say, and really, I enjoyed it all, and brother, and Joe knows that the first day I decided to run for supervisor, I called Joe, and he met with me, and we've been good allies. We even got beat on a vote again tonight.
There you go.
But that's okay.
That's all right.
That's it. So at this time, I'd like to thank you for your service, Mr. Webb.
All right.
And like I tell everybody, I get a call from you about every day, or I'll call you.
Keep doing it.
And I will know, because I'll be getting them now from you chewing me. But that's okay. But I do want to say that I've enjoyed them, and I hope they continue. And like I say, I tell my wife all the time, there is no more passionate supervisor than this man right here for the citizens of this county. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I see the inside of it. So
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
So next we'll have Dr. Tom Littrell. Wow, January 2008 to December 2021. I guess I should have read Joe's, but I guess they'll say the same thing. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors recognizes your hard work and commitment as a board member of the Pipers Gap District of Carroll County. And Dr. Littrell, I want to present this and thank you. And just like Joe, I appreciate your guidance a lot of times. Welcome me into Old Cranks and sit down and talk and try to help a
Come anytime.
young person learn the ropes. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
good
you.
luck next year.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, that leaves me with Mr. McCraw. And Phillips is January 2018 to December 2021. The Carroll County Board of Supervisors recognizes your hard work and commitment as a board member of the Fancy Gap District of Carroll County, presented the 13th day of December 2021. And just like Mr. Webb, Mr. Littrell, Dr. Littrell, thank you for your service. I appreciate the opportunity to call you and talk to you at times during the night. And I know we've enjoyed that. And sometimes we didn't vote together, but that's okay. I've respected your side, and you respected mine. So
We don't all think alike, do
no,
we?
we sure don't. We sure don't. So
But we agree.
that's it. That's
That's
it.
the main
So,
thing. you know.
so thank y'all, and y'all have a blessed holiday and a wonderful night. And I'll turn it back over to, yeah. Let's give them all a round of applause. And Dr. Littrell will pass it back to you, my
All
friend.
right, well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry I overlooked you there.
Yeah.
I was just checking off as I went along, and I got one check ahead of myself.
That's all right.
Well, I appreciate the plaque. I'll find a spot for it on my wall, and I'll always remember the years that it represents. So I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I'll wham this one more time. Adjourn.